Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. We have the interview series today with Dr. Ajita Patel. We'll be bringing her in just a little bit. And thank you for everyone coming in. Alicia, Courtney, hello. And thank you for your patience. We were just getting some technical difficulties sorted. And so thank you for being with us today. Oh my goodness. So we're going to be going to the topic of the day in just a moment. Yes, thank you. Someone, Courtney is so kind. Yes. So it's such a unique month and it's such a unique occurrence because, we've been doing the Psychic Hour and we'll continue to do the Psychic Hour, but we've been doing it for almost 2 years. But WLTKDB, it's changing and we are no longer going forward with the station, right? Because the station is changing and closing. But who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? But this is the last show on the platform, but we're going to continue with the Psychic Hour and the Numerology Hour, and we're going to get right all the schedules and times. So for a little bit, yes, the schedule is going to be different. So Courtney, you will see us back for lunch. I'm sure you will. And hello, Anne and Iva. Hello. So thank you for everybody who has been with us. It's been such a pleasure and an honor. And gosh, yeah, sometimes you have to start with kind of thanks and gratitude before you just go forward, rather than thanks and gratitude at the end. So I got raspiness in my voice. So yes, but with that said, right, the interviews will continue, the readings will continue, the numerology will continue. I kind of look at it as only just the beginning. What I wanted to talk about within the topic of the day was change, because we always focus on an area of energy or philosophy, right? Spirituality. And it's really the personification of change and transformation, kind of what is going on going forward, because sometimes you are in a place or moment, you could do like a reason, a season, or a lifetime, as they say, within what you're learning or who you're with or what you're a part of. And it takes just that amount of time to teach you an amazing lesson or an amazing skill or to meet amazing people along the way. And so always embrace what life has to offer for you, because it is ready to transform you, even if it's something simple, short term, or long term. And that's what it's all about. And we really need to put ourselves in multiple situations to grow. Life is made of seasons, it's supposed to. And when things are too stagnant, we don't grow and we become restless, and our emotions want for us to grow. Our energy wants for us to grow. Our energy wants to move. Our spirit wants to move. And then we start having all these like hiccups within the body, or, unbridled emotions, or unsteady within our mind, because our energy is made to move. And so just when something does move, whether in an expected way or a planned way, it could be through an accomplishment, or it could be through a setback or disruption, or something completely new going forward and you just don't even know what. Well, you welcome that, because that's where all the growth is. And you know that you are living life. You are breathing, living life, and movement is all around you and through you, and life is going as it needed. And I'm really a firm believer that, if you have learned something, or if you have been impressed, with a certain, let's say, energy or understanding, you can take that with you wherever you go, whether it's a quality of being, a knowing, or something you can teach, that thing you hold so dear and sacred or that you love. Like, for instance, like learning how to speak and host on the psychic hour and the numerology hour, like learning to be a part of talk radio on a different platform and format rather than just maybe doing a video sometimes on social media, but having a weekly show. That's something I had to learn to do. A multi-weekly show is something that I came into more. And I will take those skills and those knowings wherever I go. And it makes me a better person. It makes me a happier person knowing I have that. And so I just would want you to think within yourself, what are the things that you're yet to experience or have experienced that made you a better person along the way? Was it a person you met? Was it something that opened your eyes? Was it something you learned to do that you didn't expect that you could do or that you knew you could do, but you finally did it? There's just so many things. And that's where all the good stuff is. And we're always trying to find the good stuff in life, and it ignites our happiness and knowing. So ultimately, change, it sometimes can be stressful. Actually, it's known for being stressful at times, not always, but change can be stressful and you're just like, wow, what's next? And you have to like reconfigure and you have to change and you have to shift, right? And it causes even more growth. But it's exciting because if you really like live life open-heartedly and you really did absorb the teachings around you, again, your life is just elevated and you can continue to spread that to others. And it's not like anything is missing, it's still with you. It's still, that energy quality is still with you no matter where you go. And whether someone has lost a loved one, I know that grief is definitely more multifaceted and much more of a personal experience. But however life does change, it's important to carry the remembrance and the gratitude wherever we go. Um, and I do really feel like it keeps our vibration high. So then the next experience that we can have, we find others that resonate with that gratitude or resonate with that appreciation. Because like energy attracts like. So as you go forward, if your spirits are high, you'll continue to find others with high spirits. Sometimes it takes time, but you'll know them when you see them, or you'll know them when you feel them because you are knowing yourself along the way just as clearly. All right, I'm checking in with everyone saying hi. Luckily, I don't have a sore throat. I'm reading some of the comments. Luckily, I don't have a sore throat. I have a raspy throat at times. It's funny. And hi, Jenny. Hello. Someone saying hi. They're coming in as a Facebook user, so I can't see your name, but hello. And someone's talking about how they're growing spiritually with lessons within their marriage that they're growing past, and they knew they planned this before they came here, and know because they've learned so many positive lessons from the experience. Yes. Hi, Kaza. Hello. We've talked about this on the show before. We choose our lessons, and again, it's a belief. We don't talk about it as like a knowing unless someone knows it within their soul and they feel like it's really affirmed for them personally. Um, but we talk about how there's many lessons that we choose, and then there's people that we agree to be a part of our journey. And so some of our soulmates or some of the people on the other side who we have such like an affinity and a familiarity when we meet them, or like a special connection when they meet them, it's because we've had other lifetimes with them, and it's because they've agreed to help us. And when souls agree to help us and we make like charts and plans before we come here to this lifetime, the ways that we are helped to grow, and it's kind of funny because we're talking about growth and transformation, right, are not always perceived as positive from the human scope. So, you could have a best friend or a family member role, and they've agreed in order to love you and help you grow to really make you uncomfortable or to really bring forth some uncomfortable and even unkind experiences because you needed to look at life from that scope, where you needed to have, let's say, hardship in order to know your strength, or sadness in order to know your power. And to enact those emotions, right? Horrible or uncomfortable or unfortunate events play out because life is a dichotomy. You need the light and the dark. Um, Ultimately, we try to transcend and purify, with what comes our way. But we do experience life with the dichotomy of both sides. And sometimes our greatest enemies are our greatest teachers, or our greatest hardships are our greatest loved ones, whether we do recognize them from a prior life or not. So it gets very interesting on a spiritual scope when we understand why the people um, are in our life in the way that they are. Um, Yet she says her biggest lesson was self love. She had to find it from within, but not by getting it from him. I thank his soul for this lesson. That's very profound. That's very, very profound. And yeah, the contrast, the the lack of being seen, heard, or understood, sometimes the contrast of that creates us to hear, understand, and love ourselves, because we need it so much. It's very, very fascinating how the opposites bring forth our needs so clearly and who we are so clearly. We go, I am not this. I do not want to be this. I don't want to experience this. Now I am who I am, even stronger now. All right, everybody. With that said, whatever growth, change, or transformation you're going through, continue to be open and flexible with what it means. And hopefully, there's a glimmer of light that makes you go, oh, yeah, I'd rather do that instead. And you lean into that. So feel your light, experience your light. We'll be back in a moment with Dr. Ajita Patel. We will see you very soon.
If you're a fan of the paranormal world, then you'll love WLTK DB Talk Radio. Talk shows bringing you the latest on everything paranormal, cryptozoological, metaphysical, true crime, psychic readings, and more. The truth is here and now on WLTK DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.
Hello and welcome back. Just like that, let's bring Ajita in. Hello, Ajita, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you like a bell. So for everybody tuning in, some of the visuals are a bit wonky, but we have audio, so we're gonna welcome her with her beautiful voice. Thank you for coming on today, Ajita.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Absolutely. Let me give you a warm introduction for everybody getting to know you and learning about what you do a little bit more. So, with that said, Dr. Ajita Patel is an Ayurvedic doctor and Prana Reiki master who runs an Ayurveda and Panchakarma clinic in Southern California. Her business, the Sanctuary Wellness Center, as well as the Institute of Ayurvedic Medicine, trains Ayurvedic practitioners as well as provides various spirituality and health services. Dr. Patel recently Dr. Patel received her Ayurvedic degree from the California College of Ayurveda and the American Institute of Vedic Studies. She has undertaken clinical and professional training from Dr. Basant Lad, an Ayurveda ashram in Kerala, and at the AVP Hospital in Tamil Nadu, India. Dr. Patel is also a Prana Reiki master, yoga, and meditation teacher. Her passion is pranayama, breathwork, and meditation, which she teaches daily at 6:30 a.m. online through the Sanctuary Wellness Center. Her integrative approach allows patients to heal, educate, and empower themselves, as well as live in harmony with their environment, encouraging vitality, joy, and meaning. Welcome, Ajita.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wonderful, beautiful accomplishments. What really started your passion with healing and Ayurveda and energy? What got you just impassioned to learn and to become?
It started with wanting to help as a young child, help others. And I could not pinpoint a specific career, but the way life unfolded, it led me to creating all that I've created very effortlessly. So even though I pursued a career as a college professor in England, coming here and one thing after another, whether it was my illness or my daughter's illness, it forced me to look much deeper than allopathic medicine. And I had always been into healthy food and meditating, doing yoga. And truly, I would say it was after a meditation that I really started to pay attention to the insights and my intuition. And the doors just started opening up, whether it was for studying Ayurveda or energy work, or eventually leading up to opening up the sanctuary and the school, the Ayurvedic school. It just, as I listened more and more to my intuition and to the, gave some attention to the insights that I gained in meditation, I would say that was the biggest thing that made it into tangible service.
So going back to kind of define that, you've really had a multi continent life. You've traveled a lot. I know about your background. I've been blessed to know you for many years. So before even studying in Europe, you actually lived in other places too. So if you could tell me a little bit about your background and also how you chose originally to become a professor.
I grew up in India and England. I was born in Africa. Life at home was very much centered around spiritual practices, meditation, and Ayurveda was very much in weaved into our day-to-day life. When I was teaching in England. When I came here, I continued teaching, but I went into a different field. And then when I started having children, that's when I started studying Ayurveda and diving deeper into pranayama practices, deeper into meditation, energy work, and all of that.
And so for everybody who's learning what Ayurveda is, can you explain it and what it does for people?
Ayurveda is this vast body of knowledge of what is harmonious and what is disharmonious. It is all about living in rhythm with nature. It is knowing that you are divine, you are spirit, you are energy. And unfortunately, what happens is we get caught up with our relationships, our possessions, me, mine, I, all that drama. And you talked earlier about change. Well, we go through different changes physically and emotionally, and environment and seasons change. And all of these changes cause imbalances within us. So Ayurveda gives us ways to prevent illness happening in the first place with our daily rich self-care rituals that include, stretching and meditation and right foods and all sorts of just preventative practices. But ultimately, you live this mindfully, then you become more and more identified with your spiritual nature. And here is where you have more contentment, more confidence, more intelligent choices around foods and work, life balance. And you deal with life and whatever it brings you with more grace, more confidence, more calm. And so spirituality plays a big role in Ayurveda. It's not just about taking herbs, no, it's just about detoxing or body therapies, or it's not symptomatic like allopathic medicine is. It's a way of life. Everything that you do every day, the habits that you have around food and sleep, and so everything comes back to that. Yes, somebody comes in for a headache and you address that with, well, why is the headache happening? Is it stress? Is it hormones? Is it lack of sleep? What's going on? Let's address this. Let's give you the herbs. Let's recommend some therapies or treatments. But ultimately, let's continue working so that you become more and more self-aware and you gain all these tools for self-care, and you come back to that highest self within you, which, as I said, is pure divine energy.
And so, go ahead.
So Ayurveda is a lot of it can be complicated, but if you think of it in terms of the actual word, what it means, it's the knowledge of life, all aspects of life. It is a system of medicine which has been practiced for over thousands of years, but it's more than medicine. It's a way of life.
It's for everybody still learning about it, it hails from India and it's a Vedic science. So it's very, very old and revered, and it's been tested for thousands of years on how it helps people with their health and their knowing of their spirit. So it's fantastically insightful.
Yes, definitely. It's completely holistic. It's spiritual, emotional, physical, and it is. It incorporates, a lot of other modalities, things like aromatherapy, for example, or gem therapy, or color therapy, or sound therapy, food as science. It incorporates a lot of different modalities, and it can be very safely integrated with allopathic medicine. So to me, it's a complete science, and it's something that we all need. If we know who we are and we understand that, okay, these foods and these things will support us versus these other habits and these things that we bring in through all our senses may actually cause us imbalance and disease. When we recognize the simple things like, who am I, and what do I need to eat? What time do I need to get up and sleep? What practices do I need? If we know this, then we prevent illness, and we realize our true potential. If we are healthy, and if we know that the source of joy and happiness is from within us, not from a relationship, not from a coffee or cigarettes or alcohol, if we discover this within us, and which we can do that through our daily practices, our daily self-care rituals, then imagine how much more harmonious our relationships are going to be. Imagine how much better we'll handle stress and prevent addictions, prevent imbalances, and so it's something that I feel everybody should know. Everybody should know who they are and how to take care of their mind and their body.
Absolutely. It's a lifelong process, because sometimes, we weren't taught things by our family, or what's obvious to one person isn't obvious to another person, and everyone has such different needs. Like, I love going into even talking about, I believe it's like doshas, right? Of uh there's different body qualities and different food needs and sleep needs. Um, and the way someone uses their energy is entirely different, depending on what their energetic makeup is. Can you talk about that too?
Sure. So at our deepest core, we are all one. We are pure love, pure light, pure energy. But then we are we have these layers, and the physical layer is made up of the elements, as is all of universe is made up of these elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And it is these elements with their qualities. For example, fire is hot, right? Air moves. So these qualities are described in these elements, 5 elements are described in terms of qualities. So you introduced the word dosha, which some listeners may not know. Doshas are basically the combination of these elements. And when you know what elements make up your personality, then you know the qualities associated with those elements. And this is what this language of dosha is about. What are the elements? What are their qualities? How do they present in you? So the way you speak, the way your digestion works, the way your tendencies around money, food, faith, everything we can now understand through this lens of, well, you have a lot of fire. That's why you're so driven. That's why you're so impatient, get angry so quickly. That's why your hunger is so, sharp and rigorous, and you're digesting so fast. We understand a person so well when you know their dosha. And we now understand, okay, they may not do so well in this weather with these types of foods, or these colors, or these types of jobs even. We now understand what their challenges might be. We understand what their unique personality and their unique needs, and their tendency towards illness even. So this is amazing knowledge that if we know this, I'll make the right choices, and I'll be able to get along better with people. I'll be able to manage my own health better. And knowing that the changing seasons, or the certain things will cause disease in us, how to address that initially right away before it becomes something chronic. Just by simply adjusting your routine and adjusting your foods, you can actually, prevent something from escalating and going deeper into the body and creating something as serious as arthritis, for example. So this knowledge is really amazing. This knowledge of doshas, understanding your unique personality in terms of the qualities that make up the elements that are in your personality.
And as a Ayurvedic doctor, how do you start to really scan and look at people's bodies, where you can go, oh, I noticed that about like your tongue or your hands or your lifestyle or your skin, right? And that's letting me know something about an imbalance or who you are. How do you look at their physical body and start to know about their life?
Exactly all of those things that you mentioned, as well as looking at their tongue, feeling the energy in their pulse, asking a lot of questions around food and sleep and appetite, their frame, their everything about them physically and emotionally tells us what elements are predominant in them and what's out of balance. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way, there's so many clues that tell us, your dosha and the imbalances that are present.
And I know that at the Sanctuary Wellness Center, there's just an herbal kitchen. There's all these herbs. So, how many herbs did you have to study? Hundreds? And what was the process of that?
I've been eating and cooking Ayurvedically forever, since forever. So
Yes.
the herbs were part of our meals, the turmeric and coriander and cumin and cinnamon and ginger, and all of these amazing herbs were part of my repertoire anyway. And then studying more of these nervine herbs and digestive herbs and herbs for specific systems in the body and specific conditions. This was introduced to me when I was studying Ayurveda. And I continue to study. I continue to learn not just about Ayurvedic herbs, but also Chinese and Western herbs. And so at the sanctuary, you see us making teas and capsules and medicated oils and all sorts of things. And they're wonderful. We chant on them throughout the day, and we also give our herbs the energy of Reiki before we give it to the client.
The energy of Reiki. I was just, for some reason, my computer, cord popped out. So forgive me if you saw me moving around there for a second. But speaking of Reiki and energy, I know too that you have mantras constantly going through the Ayurvedic kitchen to make sure that the herbs have the music and the intention and the prayer infused, as well as the Reiki.
Yes. So the mantras all come from the Vedas, and they have beautiful healing properties. Sometimes I will introduce them to the patients if they're interested. Sometimes they're offered all the times to the herbs in the kitchen. Sometimes we start body therapies with them, or sometimes we chant internally. All depends on the comfort level of the client.
Absolutely. So there's a question, and I think that it's really, I think, helpful to highlight too. So in Ayurveda, there's so many different herbs that help to relax, to help perk up, to help focus. You can go on and on. And in the United States, largely in California, it's legal to have things like CBD. There's all these dispensaries going up, and really there's so many different herbs to help with people where they're at with what their needs for relaxation. So somebody was asking about, like CBD, what are your thoughts on that? Or do you feel like there's just so many more herbs that can specifically help what someone's going through, where they don't have to go to that? Or is that something you incorporate if it's needed?
So in Ayurveda, everything is individualized. The reason for your disease is very different from somebody else's reason. So we want to address that reason. We can't do that if we give everybody the CBD oil to sleep. What if one person can't sleep because of their hormones? What if one person can't sleep because of the stress? What if one person can't sleep because of there's overstimulated by the screens before bedtime? Let's correct the real root cause. So, and then understanding that, let's give them some specific blend of herbs. The herbs come together in a beautiful synergy when we have more than one or two. And if, these are not addictive, they have no side effects. They've specifically created for the client, and they can support the client while they're making the changes. They're not meant to be forever. And they're really, really, they're not a band-aid either. They support the body's own healing system. They're not just numbing your pain. So I love using herbs more than the standard medicine that you can buy at the store that everybody takes for anxiety, for example. Let's understand your reason for the anxiety, and let's give you other real empowering tools like the breath work. And along with that, some aroma therapy. And let's also shift your perspective so that let's look at what is causing you anxiety or fear or worry, and let's address the belief systems. Let's really look at changing you from inside out rather than putting a band-aid on it.
And you mentioned, so there's so many multiple things, and one of your favorites is pranayama.
Yes.
Can you talk about that and let people know what that is?
So it literally means to extend, constrict, restrain, manipulate the breath. That's what the word means, pranayama. And to me, this is the single most powerful tool that we have as human beings to influence our physiology, our chemistry, our energy, our mental state. I feel that this is the most accessible and most powerful. I tell people it is like the key to our mind. It can help us to master our mind, our thoughts and our emotions, as well as affecting the flow of nutrients or waste products or information throughout all the pathways in our body and mind. It is powerful. Breathwork is so powerful. It can improve your immune system. It can improve your digestion. It can improve your heart function, your nervous system. So many, many, many benefits that have been all proven in clinical trials that are just beginning. Whether it's alternate breath work or the bumblebee breath or the deep belly breathing, whatever it is, there are now studies being done on how this affects, your pulse rate, your heart rate, your memory, your attention. So it's exciting that science is validating the claims that the ancient yogis made thousands of years ago, not just on turmeric or ginger or ashwagandha, but also yoga and specific breathwork practices. So I love reading about the science and showing my clients and students the evidence-based knowledge that's there. And breathwork, I can go on and on and on about how effective it is and how it's not something you can learn in a weekend. It's kind of like yoga that you actually have to practice consistently and over your weeks, months, years, and decades. You're going to begin to master it. I've been doing it for almost 2 decades now. And even to this day, I'm still discovering so much about it. I teach it every single morning, along with meditation. And, pranayama is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. So just like the physical asana is one limb, pranayama is just another limb or aspect, as is meditation. So, it's a vast field that is beginning right now to get popular, and it's you don't need herbs, you don't need anything. If all you have is this breath, it can still transform you. your physical health, your mental state, your spirituality.
With your immense knowledge of breath work, how do you connect that with your prana Reiki and your energy healing?
So pranayama is this manipulation of energy or breath, right? And breath becomes prana when you bring your attention and intention on it. And prana is the same energy as Reiki or chi or ki. And you access this energy through pranayama practices is one of the ways of accessing it. Of course, as you know, symbols, use of symbols is another one. There are many ways of influencing prana or energy within your auric field. And pranayama absolutely does increase the frequency of this energy in your mind and body. For anybody who wants to go deeper with meditation, then pranayama is going to be a necessary step to that, because it is so good at quietening the monkey mind and effortlessly leading you into the stillness and helping you transcend your mind. So pranayama is a way of accessing your prana. I don't know if that answers the question, or would you like me to elaborate more?
Yeah. Breath work is a way of accessing your prana, your chi. And I am curious about too, as well, since you've bridged prana and Reiki together, prana Reiki, what do you find are the similarities of prana and Reiki, and also the differences of prana and Reiki as an energetic technique and modality?
So Reiki and prana and chi and ki are the same words, are different words for the same energy, right? So there's no difference. You're not accessing anything different. You're accessing the same pure, unconditional love and healing light. The prana Reiki, the reason I came up with that is because the Reiki was about the symbols that Usui Mikao came up with about over 100 years ago. And we talk about the chakras, we talk about the some of the concepts in Reiki that go back to the Vedic times, thousands and thousands years ago. And in my research of some of the Upanishads, the Vedic knowledge, I discovered that there was verses written on this energy healing through the hands. And so that intrigued me more and more. And as I was in the initial stages practicing or giving Reiki sessions, I realized that I was naturally or intuitively accessing the marma points and using mantra and using mudra. And so it all began to come together for me. Mudra, mantra, marma, as well as the pranayama practices. And so it was like pieces of a puzzle just coming together. That Reiki is not just 100 years old, it's thousands of years old. And as part of this knowledge of the symbols that we use in Reiki, we can also use marma points. We can also use mudras. We can also use, mantra with it and pranayama practices. And so so this is where, and even Tantra can come into this, and sacred geometry. There's so many layers to this. So I then expanded on my knowledge of Reiki by bringing in the Vedic tools, the Vedic knowledge. And that then took the patient deeper when I fully embraced all of it. When I trained healers who were Reiki masters and I trained them in this, it took them further. It took them much, much further. And they were able to compare their Reiki training and then the training that I provided with the mantra, mudra, marma, and pranayama practices.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of understanding, and I do really feel like it's all connected. And Reiki does go back to times where just the founder of Usui Reiki, he had knowledge of prana. With what he brought into his school, even the symbols go back to pranic knowledge. It's very fascinating. In the East, many things were shared, right? And so it all goes back to similar sources. I mean, we kind of find that throughout history. It's just kind of to what extent. But I love the fact that you've combined so many modalities, because why why wouldn't you want to share more ways how to access, your power, your chi, to flow through breath work, through pressure points, through chakra knowledge. And I love that, because in Usui Reiki, of course we're working with the chakras. Yes, of course we're working with the energy body, but it's not taught a lot unless someone's very curious about energy, and then that is opened up the more they want to learn. But with pranic knowledge, I mean, you can't separate the chakra system, or the koshas, or all that vast information. It's part of what's known. So the fact that you're bringing that to people in so many different forms at once, I think that's incredible.
Ayurveda is part and parcel of that tool bag, along with this, as is yoga.
Absolutely. And there's just so many things that you have been learning and developing within your life. So we have some questions too. I think this is an interesting question. And I do think, at the Sanctuary Wellness Center, you've seen so many different healers throughout your time running your business. This is, I think, will be insightful of that. So she says, in our small town, we have one Reiki practitioner. She is sick a lot, and I feel like she might be taking on the energy of her clients. Could I possibly take on her clients' energy if I go? Interesting.
Okay, so different layers to this. If you are not taking care of yourself, okay, if you're not sleeping well and you're not eating well, then yes, you're going to catch a cold easily, right? When somebody has it. But if your immune system is strong and you've been taking care of yourself, then you're going to have a buffer. You're going to have a protection around you, right? So first and foremost, you have to take care of yourself. And in Ayurveda, we call this ojas, OJAS, taking care of yourself, your sleep, your foods, your health. And there are lots of things that you can do to take care of yourself. These are, pretty common sense: eating the right foods, sleeping, managing stress, having movement or exercise or yoga. This Reiki healer who's sick, if she's taking care of herself really well, her lifestyle is wholesome, her, diet is wholesome, and she's still getting sick. Is this because this is something that's part of her karma, that's part of her journey, her destiny? Because even meditators and doctors and healers are human beings, and they do carry on the karma of the past. Is this what's going on? It's hard for an outsider to know. What you can do is protect yourself by taking care of yourself, right? You're not going to take on somebody's energy, just like you're not going to catch somebody's cold if you are protected, if you wear a mask, if you wash your hands, as well as have a strong immune system and good digestion. And this is something that you can do, and then enter into anybody's presence and know that you've done everything you can to take care of yourself. And even if you do get sick, well, maybe that was part of the journey. That's one way of looking at this. if you go in with fear that I'm going to get sick, I'm going to catch somebody so and so, then yeah, that fear itself is going to be a breeding ground for you to manifest something and catch. And now, so you can't be anxious and having fear of everything, because then you're going to attract what you're afraid of. So staying solid, strong, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as doing the real hard work in making sure your sleep is good, making sure your food is appropriate, your bowel movements are good, you're happy, you have good relationships. You've got to take care of yourself. And then there's an element of faith. There's an element of faith that, I've done everything I can to take care of myself, but I'm going to still go out into the road. And if something happens, so be it. There's that sense of acceptance and trust. And that's part of my journey. But if you walk in saying, am I going to get somebody else's negative energy? What if then you're already doomed to catch it. So no doubts, no worry, no fear, and do everything you can to bring in wholesome things through all your senses, and stay healthy. Stay healthy.
Yeah, I think
don't be quick to judge the Reiki healer for being sick. We don't know. We don't know what her life is like. We don't know what's got, sometimes things happen in childhood that aren't so easy to reverse. And sometimes people are just more prone to being sick. We don't know. We don't know what's going on.
I think, yeah, it's an important distinction to come in with a more neutral place on it rather than, right, the fear. I think it's important to trust your gut on that as well, because there are some people who, yeah, their physical body is not, let's say, balanced as easy as others. Sometimes people who don't have a lot of physical energy have more like spiritual energy or more mental energy or more emotional energy, right? So it's like their balance and constitution is different. So they might get knocked over a little bit more easily in the physical sense. Ultimately, I mean, I've seen certain people who like appear sickly or don't appear as vital, but they're phenomenal healers. They're phenomenal healers. And so you kind of have to just trust the energy that they carry on a deeper level. And there's other people who are very vital and they're just brimming and they're the personification of health. And they don't, let's say, have as much to offer in the healing and transferring of let me give that to you now. So very different things to consider. The most powerful healers aren't always the most physically vital. So there's that. And ultimately, I believe that physical vitality and energy, if you're healthy, there's movement going on. And sometimes the best healers, they don't have a lot of movement going on in their life, but all the movement that they do generate is in the healing sessions. So they actually like heal themselves and others during when the Reiki or like the Prana or whatever they're doing is happening. So they're fantastic conductors, and that's the place that they conduct the most movement in their life. So I think it's very fascinating, right? It's not one size fits all. I just had to add that. Ajita, this is also a question for you. So someone is, I'm going to have this more focused to you because, you're the expert of breath work. Alicia is talking about Wim Hof, if you're familiar with Wim Hof. And he is someone who specializes in breath work too. And he's known for actually going barefoot in the cold and not ever having frostbite. And so let me know if you're familiar with Wim Hof. And so she says for a long time, she's followed him for a long time, and he's living scientific proof of what breath work, meditation, and connecting to your soul can do. And she mentions that it's helped her breath work with her severe anxiety, and to understand how to get to the root causes of issues and tune into her higher self and heal. So can you talk about your experience with how it's helped people with anxiety, or really transcended their physical limitations, or even healed people?
So breath work is, especially the slow exhalation, the slower the exhalation, the more calmer you're going to feel. This is a scientifically proven fact. So breathing in slowly, deeply through the nose and exhaling very slowly, either through the mouth or through the nose, very, very slowly. You do this a few times and you will naturally put your body and mind in a relaxed state. It's as easy as that. So you start there. You start with taking mindful, deep, slow breaths, exhaling very, very slowly. And hopefully you bring in a consistent practice of breath work. There are many different techniques that are involved. This one that I explained is very quick and easy to do anywhere and anytime, and will work. And I've had a lot of patients who've had anxiety and panic attacks, and who are very afraid of flying or traveling or huge, crowded spaces. And I'm able to actually get them through these very scary experiences without medication, without herbs, just by teaching them how to use this breath work. Very effective, very quick, and very empowering for the patient that they can mitigate a panic attack. So beyond this, continuing to practice breath work or pranayama on a consistent basis, what that does is not just keep you in a relaxed state of mind, but you're more calmer. Your perspective is a little bit more detached. You don't take things so personally. You're not so there isn't this knee-jerk reaction to stress and to stressful situations. So what I have people telling me with the therapeutics of breathwork is that their sleep is better, the digestion is better, their energy is better, their immune system is better, their relationships are better, because they're not so overreactive or taking things personally, or they're able to walk away or, respond more appropriately. And then and as you continue to practice breath work, what it does is give you the control over your thoughts and emotions, and you can reject a thought, and you can walk away from or pick yourself up from a very emotional moment, and you can come back to your center, your calm, very quickly. And over time, it will only take a little bit of just coming back to your breath and taking you to your heart, taking you to that state of being compassionate and loving. This is the goal. This is the goal, to be that way all the time, to be mindful all the time, to be compassionate and be inspired and be established in your highest self, and be very loving. So this is what breathwork can do. It can take you there over time, from one step to the next to the next. Initially, yes, you use it for the anxiety, but then it leads into, all the other realms. It is very therapeutic. It really, really does affect all your organs and systems.
It's very, very healing. If people may, where can they find you if, let's say, they want to be part of pranayam at 6:30 for an online session, or if they want to be in person at the Sanctuary Wellness Center or other events you have going on, whether speaking at conferences, where can people find you and what are you up to currently with what you're offering and what people can be part of?
So the clinic is at the Sanctuary, which is in Tustin. It's 714-617-4593. We have yoga classes there, and you can register for the online morning pranayama meditation classes through the Sanctuary. I also
That's in Tustin, California, for everybody knowing that's in California, Southern California.
Southern California, Orange County. The Sanctuary's website is awakensanctuary.com. I teach a lot of courses through the school, which I've named the Institute for Ayurvedic Medicine. And here we teach courses, whether it's Prana, Reiki, Pranayama, meditation, or Ayurveda certification courses. I train healers, and we've been doing this for a number of years, and talk about, diving into a journey of transformation and healing and becoming a healer yourself. There are many courses that we offer. If you go into the website, is Institute, 4, Ayurveda.com. You can also call the Sanctuary's main line and they will give you the information. We have we have lots going on, and I love sharing this wisdom. I love training practitioners. Some come just to learn the body therapies, the Abhyanga, Shirodhara, all these Ayurvedic body therapies. Some come to learn how to be an Ayurvedic healer, Ayurvedic health counselor, and learn about nutrition and herbs and all of this. And some come just to learn the pranayam. So I have certificate courses in all of them.
And it's a lot to choose from for people who want to dive into healing and spirituality and understanding energy. It's fantastic. So please check out the resources through our website. Also, you're speaking at a conference too. This that's upcoming, correct?
I took a break from it this time. I've been teaching. I've been at that conference for a number of years. So this one I took a break, but I'll be there at the next one, which is be in April, the Mindfulness Expo. I do have a YouTube. I do have some recordings on Facebook of the past conferences. If you call the Sanctuary or come to the Sanctuary, where, by the way, I have other healers like Kelly Brickle, who also offer their services there. The Sanctuary is a wellness center where we've got many different modalities and healers, as well as the Ayurveda there. So you can meet some amazing people like Kelly there also.
I'm very gracious to, and thank you for having, the opportunity for me to have some of my physical in-person services there. So yes, I'm a lover of the Wellness Sanctuary, the Sanctuary Wellness Center. I'm all tongue-tied today. And I have a lot of heart for the space and a lot of heart for the work that you do, Ajita. So thank you so much for being on the show today and having such a beautiful space available for people to come find.
Thank you, Kelly, and I love what all the things that you're accomplishing, and I love working with you. You're an incredible healer.
Likewise. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Ajita. With that said, isn't it amazing how quickly it goes? It just,
Yes.
and there's so much more to talk about. We only breached the surface. So as the psychic hour will continue, everybody. So I'm sure we'll have Ajita on at a future time so we can dive into more of what energy is and the learnings of such. So once again, thank you, Ajita, for being on today. I always give my guests the last word. So if you have an inspiration, a poem, a thought, whatever comes to mind or you'd like to share, what would you like to leave people with?
Know that the divine is within you. Know that you are very powerful and that everything you need to overcome your challenges and to live your fullest, you already have that. You have these amazing, untapped gifts and potential. And there are many ways of discovering them. And I encourage you to start somewhere.
Start somewhere, even if just a step at a time. Get curious. I love it. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for being a part of the Psychic Hour and WLTKDB. We will continue to fly onward. With that said, please go with love, luck, lights, laughter, and don't forget to live. We will see you soon in another capacity. Take care. My heart to yours. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.